Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of Musings of a Sanguine Christian Woman. I am Ade Oluwa, and I just wanted to say something. I of course, there's always something going on, but sometimes getting the words together might not be exactly that easy. But then I looked at the last episode that I had done, and it was about to people of color. I don't want to say black people, because I read somewhere that the concept of black in quotes is like something that white supremacists use to denigrate Africans and dark colored skin people, colored people. And so I just said, let me just use color. Now I'm going to talk about the concept of colored people not even being together. Do you understand? Like we like to be distinct in our identity, which is a good thing, but we focus so much on that we are not. It's like when we're talking about what we have in common, rather than focus on that, we begin to nitpick about things that we don't have in common. And I think that if you are secure in your identity and nobody is insulting your heritage and your difference, like some people will say they are colored, but they will say they are not Africans. Okay, I'm not even going to argue that. I expect that you know yourself better than I do, but when we're having a conversation that concerns all of us, like the issue of racism, for example, I don't think that is the time for me, for example, to start saying I'm an Ijebu woman. So let's just know we're not all the same kind of statements, and like as if we had to assert that we are people, but we're not asserting it to the right people. Like, not many black people look down on other black people, right? I mean, of course, there are some who do that, but when you're getting defensive about your identity among people that look similar to you, I think it's sort of like counterproductive at the end of the day, But I want to talk to my sisters, my colored sisters. Hello, how are you? So, I don't know what comes to mind, why it came to mind, because I wasn't really planning to go there. But maybe I should, maybe I ought to. And I've done YouTube videos on that, I remember writing, a lot of things about, what I thought when this whole thing started with Meghan Markle, Duchess of Success. And there were a lot of talks about how she wasn't doing things properly, how she made someone cry, how she's so demanding, and so on and so forth. And I was like, the fact that Princess Diana had gone before, in terms of this kind of treatment, it makes the argument of racism a little watered down, because then they would, at that time, people would now own to the fact that, Princess Diana went through something similar, but so where is the racism in that one? You get? And it just buttresses my point that evil people, I don't even want to start dabbling into the psychology of the inhumane thoughts and actions of people. So I'll just go evil. If you're not doing the right thing, you are an evil person. That's just it, So that's it for me. When you act out on something for more than 21 days, it becomes a habit, right? You know, I mean, people say when it comes to being good, it's interesting that when it comes to being good, people say, oh, this person is a neat person, or this person is a clean person, or this person is kind, you know, this person is so loving, oh, this person is gregarious, you know, all those attributes. But when it comes to negativity, we say, well, this person has a tendency, that's when we now start stretching our words, you know, to be unnice. And I'm thinking, hello, like if you're going to call somebody a kind person, then you should be able, that means there are unkind people, right? And just say it as it is. I really don't see the point of going back and forth about that. Now, just so we're clear, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that now, you know. But from my perspective, I saw it as a concept where women who get married are not considered as family to the man's family. Of course, they all pretend and act like, but when it's time to find a culprit for something, it is the newcomer, in quote, that they throw under the bus. And it's so, unfortunately, so common. And I think the reason why people say the issue of Meghan was racist was, I think the way everything went, like how it snowballed into what it became, right? Her sister-in-law did not have a perfect entry, if anything. Like, she didn't have a perfect entry, right? I don't want to start enumerating because I'm tempted to. Don't get it twisted. But my Christian faith will not just allow me to do that. You know, I'll have to start repenting of that. But nobody is mentioning that. I mean, I recall some incidents that, geez, my goodness, I can't get it out of my head. Because for a woman, it was just so embarrassing. I can't repeat it. I wish I could. You know, probably will not even find the pictures of those things online anymore. Supposing you're searching, you know. But I think it was situations where, shall we say, her skirts had a hard time staying down. Let's just put it that way. Not in a bad way, like breeze will blow and bam. I questioned. The thing is, I didn't even blame her. Not many people were like, oh, look at her. So, you know, the way they are on to Meghan. I didn't see much of any of that, you know. I personally was like, where is she getting her clothes from? Who is her designer? Like, when you're going to make a flare skirt, you have to do it in such a way that is heavy at the hem, because breeze will blow, yeah? And when breeze blows, you don't want to wear the hem of your gown or your skirt on your face, right? You want it to stay covering your legs and your thigh and everything else underneath there, you know? And so, I mean, we are practically forgotten about it. But you see, here is the thing for some of us that people don't understand or don't want to understand, is that when you, in the same context, when you are hard on somebody else, we kind of remember what happened to the other person. So you're not helping the other person either. You know, I had kind of forgotten about that, really. There was no reminder. But the way Meghan has been treated has always put that in my mind. Like, it always brings it to my mind, like, what is going on here, you know? And I think that they are taking advantage of the fact that Meghan is a gentle woman. I don't know her personally, but I just sense it. Like, she's not somebody, she might be somebody who is outspoken, but she's not confrontational and all of that, especially in an environment where, you know, there's a lot of rules. The thought well thought, the deed well done, and the words well spoken, or something like along those lines. I got that one from One Night with the King, when Esther was, saying what they should be taught, like the words well spoken and the deed well done, sort of thing. Right. So for me, I saw it more like an in-law versus, daughter-in-law versus her new family thing, where it seems like they accept you at first, but after some time, when a scapegoat is needed, you're the one who takes the fall for that. And they get offended when you obviously don't quietly accept it and all of that, It could be a lot of things that they have against her, but I mean, it's just crazy. And I think the reason why her situation came up, because I have to gather my thoughts when it comes to this situation, because I take it really personal. You understand? I believe the reason why this came to my mind was because that is a typical example of divestment. Granted, Meghan looks more white than she does look black, but if the person you're with or you're going to be with is racist, they're going to remind you of that one drop of black blood you have. And Meghan's own is more than one drop, because her mother she's so colored. She's beautifully colored. She is nothing white at all. Even her hairstyle is so very, very African, very, very colored people hairstyle, sort of. Nothing Western about her hairstyle and all, or nothing European, if you may, about her hairstyle. So she's very much into her roots in more ways than one, right? So hers is not even what is it called, a one drop rule. And so I think she works for now as a template for this divestment thing that some influencers have been harping on and on about. Now understand, I'm not I'm not insistent as Dr. Umar Johnson that people must marry within their race. Frankly speaking, that should, especially colored people, we should marry among our race. We should marry. We are so many, and he said such. Like, we are so many that we really don't need to, pair with people that are not of our color and our heritage, as the case may be, because other ethnicities, they are pairing with people of their own because of what they go for what they have more in common concerning heritage and legacy and all of that. But I would say for some of us, especially black women or women of color, okay, in this case, I may have to make a little distinction. Women who identify as women of color, they oftentimes have no problem with being with somebody that is not a person of color, being with an Arab, although Arabs are people of color, but they don't want to be there. They just want to be called Arabs. Okay. They don't have a problem with being with Arabs and Europeans and Westerners, or somebody that, is genetically white, let's put it that way, or fairer skinned people, if you may, whose skins are lighter colored, right? Many of them don't. But when you hear a woman say she's a black woman, like from the onset, she owns that she's a black woman. For her, it's not just an issue of conversation. She means it in every which way. And we've had a situation, and that is where I can't really fault the people divesting or advising that people divest. I can't really blame them for giving that advice because black women have kissed more frogs than they have any business kissing, because they just want to keep it in the black race, in African black community, colored community, and so on. They just want to keep it in, right? Because women generally, unlike men, a man could have a black mom and marry a white woman, not because he loves his mother less, although psychologists like Dr. Omar might have a little more to say about that, but for us girls, our love for our fathers are genuine, even when the fathers don't even deserve that devotion. It's just automated in a black woman to want to be with somebody like her father, whether the father is a good person or not. You understand? I mean, it helps if the father was a father indeed, but you find a situation where, the girls want to be with a man that has similar colors, like similar visage as their father, because at the end of the day, for a woman, her first love is her father, for better or for worse. Like the love journey of a woman begins with her father, and it takes a lot of conscious effort that most times is really difficult for them to step out of being with their father's likeness to being with somebody that is nothing like their father, but suffice it to say that men of other ethnicities are second choices. And I'm not saying that in a gloating way to gloat. I'm just saying that to affirm the loyalty, because obviously we have to affirm that, to affirm the loyalty of black women to the community, right? At the end of the day, black men generally, there are so many exceptions because we are many. The exceptions cover for the norm, right? Because the exceptions are many. But when you look at it from when you look at it generally, black women are more likely to go back to their roots and take care of it. Like go back to where they came from. Some don't. Perhaps because they are ashamed, mostly. But the ones that feel that I owe my community, a chunk of my income and a chunk of my the building skills, the community building skills I've acquired, they oftentimes go back to establish something, start something. I remember Tobiloba Amushon, the lady that runs, the sportswoman that runs from Nigeria, from Ijebu. She's an Ijebu woman. She came back when she won that first winning that got her very, very famous and popular. She came back to Ijebu to come and do something there, to come and start something there. She's had that project in her mind for a very long time, but she needed the funding and the exposure that her winnings will get her to start those things. And so the moment she won, she just practically just put everything together, and the speed at which she did it, you can tell that this is somebody that actually has everything on ground. She just needed the funding and the publicity, that was all. And as soon as she had both, she just put everything together and it clicked. She went to her alma mater, the secondary school she finished from, and donated something there as well, so you see, like, that's how we are. I'm not saying black men don't do that, but like I said, I want to focus on black women in this episode, and women of color, as the case may be. So for a woman of color or a black woman to actually marry outside the diversity of the colored people is a lot. You understand? She's found herself in a situation where the good colored men of her closest proximity don't find her attractive. The available ones, okay? They don't find her attractive. And time is going past. I could also use, maybe use is not the word I should say. Take Serena Williams, for example. Like, her dating history, as far as I know, has been black men. But it never worked out. And she was already, she was getting too close to 40 for comfort without having a child. I think she just believed in a proper family structure. Like, I am not putting my child into this baby mama cycle. You understand? Because it becomes a cycle. Chances are, if you were born into a baby mama system, as the case may be, you might end up continuing it, not because you want to, but because everything is a legacy, right? If a parent does something, it becomes like, it goes into the subconscious of a child, and it guides most of their decisions subconsciously. There are, of course, exceptions and all that, but when it comes to, generally speaking, it is a risky business. And I think she just was more grounded in her faith, in her belief that, if you're going to have a child, it has to be in a marriage. Although she became pregnant before she got married, but yeah. I don't know what that is about, but I think that if she wanted to be a single mom, she could have been that a long time ago, right? So I think she just felt, I have to do this the right way. I have to do this the proper way, even if it didn't really start that way. But I see that she made the effort, right? And the man that her values finally aligns with happens to be white. So what's a sister to do? It doesn't make sense for her to be. Women are not wired to find their mates. And so when Dr. Umar accuses black women of, going out of the race, I'm thinking, as a Pan-Africanist, traditionally speaking, women don't go seeking who to marry. They are sought after, and then they make their choice. And so we're not trained to do that. It's not as if black women didn't try or women of color didn't try. They tried, and they ended up being baby mamas. That's the result we're seeing. They ended up being baby mamas, right? Because they tried going after the man that they wanted or they liked. And it just went down that way. So it's not as if it's a thing of joy, but when you've been through a lot, you just want peace. And somebody who brings that to your life is who you accept. Now, we see examples of Meghan and Meghan Markle and Serena Williams, who are, all well that ends well, although it's still a journey that is happening right before us. But so far so good. These two people, the lives of these two women are looking like fairy tales, and they're both friends, by the way. How ironic, right? They're both friends. But that is not always the norm, right? It's not every time that, a white man would leave his CEO position and say, the only person who can replace me here is a qualified black person. At least that's what I heard Alex Ohanian did. Like he vacated his position as the CEO or something and said the only replacement he wants is a black person. And he mentioned that, according to what I read, he mentioned that he saw the way his wife was being treated, and he looked at his daughter and realized that his daughter is going to grow up to face the same situation if, he doesn't do something as a father from his own end to, as much as possible, reduce the impact of racism and all the issues that black women face, and reduce its impact as much as he can, so that his daughter can at least have it better, and that is that. And not every white man would leave his family like Prince Harry did, to fight for his wife, alongside his wife, and uproot. Historically speaking, men don't do that. Historically speaking, there are examples upon examples of where the matriarch or the patriarch of the family, mostly the matriarch, I notice that is common. Yeah, that's another conversation for another day. But let me just touch on that a little bit. It buttresses the point of people that said in the feminist movement and women's rights, black women were used as the foot soldiers and the front and the shield and everything to get that freedom for women, but it was never meant for them. And so they hardly enjoy the dividends and benefits of feminism and women's rights. They hardly enjoy it. You might as well, but they were part of it en masse. They were just used, and I find that really, really appalling. Like, why would these white women do something like that? No, and please, before you say not all white women, we're not talking about all. We're talking about these particular white women who used black women, to make their own, to break their own fall. Let's put it that way. Like, they knew they were going to hit a lot of hard muzzles in terms of patriarchy. And so they used mostly black women to do it. Of course, there were white women who were also foot soldiers, but those ones were also poor white women, right? So you notice that a white woman with no means, has less to feed herself, has less of the social amenities that is afforded women, still has more rights than a well-to-do popular black woman. Is that crazy? And I won't say we, but they went into this fight together. But the white women were black women are the ones just, I don't know, relegated to the background again. And it's so sad, you understand, when you just think about it, it's so sad and frustrating. Like, how can one woman do that to another woman? But then again, some people see themselves, the competition among women I think is even more toxic than patriarchy. And actually, I think that the toxicity among women is what is feeding patriarchy. Like, without the unhealthy competition, the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, the sabotaging that goes on among women, patriarchy would have fallen a long time ago. So the backbone of patriarchy is women who do bad to other people. You can call them the brutal madams. You understand? The women who will watch their sons mistreat women, mistreat females, and then decide who their son is going to marry without making sure that other women don't become the experiment or the plaything of their sons. In fact, they encourage it, that women become playthings of their sons. And their lives are ruined, literally, because they thought that, this person was going to marry them. But the mother had no plans for that. How many women have become pregnant that, the mother of the man arranged an accident for the pregnant girl, that she may lose both her life and the baby, or if she has her way, she forces the girl to go and have an abortion. And furthermore, she insists that her son cannot be with this person. And she wins that argument. She uses economy, social status, and all that, which is also known as dezoning, to threaten the man to stay back. And because that one is not a man, is a mommy's, I won't say mommy's boy, just a weakling who doesn't want to stay on his own, a fearful person, lacks courage, in a body of a man, a full-grown man, but in essence, a dependent boy who enjoys being spoon-fed all his life, will just dump the girl after making promises of marriage and all that. He probably meant it, well, not really. I mean, if he dumped the girl, and so the woman is left taking care of her child by herself. Some of them never make it. The stress and the emotional trauma of what they went through, they just have the child and then die in the process, and then that child comes an orphan. And these men who had promised that they would never love someone else get married to their mother's choice, have children. Like, I don't know how you can do that, That has been the abnormal norm, powered and supported by patriarchal women. Let's put it that way. I don't know whether it's patriarchal women we can call it, or just mean, cruel women. So Harry broke that. And I can understand why so many people are not happy. Of course, they will not come out to say that he's made them look bad. I'm sure they will not come out to say that, he's breaking that jinx of no man will leave his family for any woman. He's broken that spell, that narrative that they've shoved down women's throats, that a man would, no matter how much he loves you, he will never turn his back on his family for you, So they make women feel less valuable than anybody else. And geez, here you are. He did what so many men in history. His father, I don't know whether I should say his father, but people of his that have gone before him in different parts of the world, he showed himself as a man's man, and they now dislike him for it. So yeah, I'll be right back. Not so long, but I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. I needed to, excuse me, I needed to speak to someone who is like a mother to me and check up on her and see how she's doing. So I had to post the video. And what I want to talk about will take a longer time, but I'll just touch on it a little bit and then expand on it in the next episode or in another episode. And that would be that based on everything I have said so far, if you don't take anything from it at all, take one thing from it. A lot of norms and social problems and social ills, they are hereditary, and racism is one of them. Racism is hereditary, because I believe it either, that children can be taught to be mean and racist, but when I think it was the UK or one of these, either UK or Britain, I can't even tell the difference, and sincerely speaking, I don't care to know the difference. Like, there's a lot on my plate to be doing the geography of the difference between Britain and England and UK and all that. Maybe one of these days when I have time. But it so happens that they were looking for teachers and they made it open to Africans in Africa who have a degree. They don't have to have an education in teaching to come over and teach their children. And some people were thinking, that is rather suspicious. Like, what happened to why would they want black people to come and teach their children? Like, that is so unconventional, in quote, But some people just saw money. It was just opportunity to make their lives better and do something with their talent more than they have been able to in Africa. So they felt this was an opportunity for them. And people who were pessimistic, let me put it that way, and rightly so, about it, were like, be careful, do your findings and make sure that you put yourself, you put measures in place that protects you, because we're talking about children here. A lot of things can go wrong. If you're accused of, being sexually inappropriate, you may not be able to wash yourself off that, or wash that off yourself, and people do get accused of these things. There are the people who make Emmett Till out of black people just for the heck of it. A black man or can just be going on his own, and they accuse him of sexual violence, and nobody's going to ask questions. They'll just put that guy in the slammer. I mean, if he does make it to the slammer or the prisons, he will be lucky, and that is even bad. If he doesn't get killed before that, or lynched. So people were like, be careful, yeah. And those that were already there, or they got there, shared their experiences about how the children were, not all of them I'm sure, but they were just so unruly, and they were rude. Not just ordinarily rude, they were using racial slurs on them. So you now ask, where did they learn it from? Am I supposed to think their parents sat them down and taught them to look down on and speak like that to black people? I doubt it. I mean, some do, I'm sure, but it just goes to show that that's just me describing a proof, a present day proof actually, of the, and these were not from one white child to a black child. No, this is from one black child to a teacher. And when they reported these things, they said they more or less were accused of not being good at their job and not doing their job well. It's their place to make sure that the child, is compliant. And they're like, no, you don't understand what is going on here. No, they don't. So you see, it's hereditary. Why I had to mention that, and I said I will expatiate on it, is because of all the people who say things like, this happened in the past, this is, we should forget about it, be done with it and move on. Well, we do try to move on, but let's just say racists have not. They would always do something to bring it to mind. And I'm supposed to believe that, no, this has nothing to do with them. They were not there. So where did they get it from? If not from their racist ancestors, right? And they inherited it from them. I'm saying this so that as a black woman, as for black men, I don't think they really care much about whether their women are racist or not. I don't think they care. Not many of them care, because let me not even go there. But for black women, please, don't just think that the norm is Meghan Markle's marriage and Serena Williams' marriage. Like, that is how it is for every white man. No, honey, it isn't. It isn't that way for every black woman. It isn't. Not all white men or non-black men genuinely love black women. The vast majority, they love black body, the black female anatomy. That it ends there. They just see black women as piece of meat, piece of coffee, a piece of meat that has been drizzled with chocolate, sort of thing. It's a fetish for them. They don't give a damn. In fact, they hate you because they like you, kind of thing. It's a psychological problem, but I see it as a wicked thing when you see women that way. So don't go and fall into the trap of a man that just wants to have the sexual experience of being with a black woman. Don't get there, because him approaching you does not mean that he loves you, or does not make him less racist if he was racist. You understand what I'm saying? Also, you also have to look at it from this angle that if there are men like Harry Windsor and Alex Ohanian, so far they look okay for me. Then there are other men, there are other non-black men like that all over the world. But there are also the ones that are racist to the core, and they just want to continue the evil legacy their ancestors gave them, which is the raping of black women. But since they can rape black women now, they pretend to like you and to love you. And you, feeling that since you've been burned several times by men in your community, you might as well try out. Don't make sure you do your due diligence and be sure that the man you're with has ethics, that you're going to be with has ethics, He is a loving person, he's genuine, and he's a man indeed. Not a man with just the physical assets, but mentally he's a man. Psychologically he's a man. He's grounded, he's settled in his behavior. Like he bears good fruits. He's loving, he's kind, he's compassionate, he has self-control. The fruits of the Spirit. And I spent almost 10 minutes talking about that. See, this is going to be a long one, and I don't want to do that here now. So I'm going to do that in another episode. So I'll just round up by saying, guard your hearts with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. And be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God. And know that God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And also know that when you know your God, you will be strong and you will do exploits. Be safe, stay strong, stay healthy, remain at peace.